The Knicks return to action tomorrow post All-Star break, and it's time to break down the next few games for the New York Knicks and where they fall within the landscape of the NBA. It's your boy Dariel. You guys know the drill. New York or nowhere. Queens get the money. You guys know the drill. Before we get into today's video, I want to remind you guys and I want to bring to light that 68% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. I want to remind you guys to please hit that subscribe button if you guys want to stay up to date with all the rumors, reports, injury news, and just post-game analysis for the Knicks games that Chris and I are bringing to you guys. So whatever you're doing, please hit that subscribe button. And now on to today's video. So by the time this video comes out, our first game post All-Star game break is going to be against the Chicago Bulls. And I kind of wanted to look at the upcoming schedule and see how the Knicks are going to fare out. And I specifically chose the next 10 games. So if you take a look here, the next 10 games, we're going to start off with the Chicago Bulls and then the Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers, Memphis Grizzlies, Miami Heat, Golden State Warriors, LA Lakers, LA Clippers, and the Sacramento Kings. If you take a look at the first 3 games, 2 out of the 3 games are against the better teams of the NBA, top 3 teams in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. Of course, I am not talking about the Chicago Bulls. But speaking of the Chicago Bulls, when I was looking up our wins and losses against Chicago Bulls, we actually have an 0-2 record against the Chicago Bulls. I do like what Chicago is doing. It's not even that I like what they're doing. They're obviously retooling and rebuilding, but I like some pieces that they have, specifically Montas Buzelis. He was recently in the slam dunk contest, even though he had an abysmal showing, but I like what I see from him and the potential that he has. But going back to the 2 games that we had against the Chicago Bulls, the first game we lost 124 to 123, and then the second game against the Chicago Bulls, we lost 139 to 126. Now, this is going to be the first time I believe that we're going to be facing the Chicago Bulls post-trade. Post-Zach LaVine trade. So Zach LaVine's not going to be there anymore. He got shipped off to he got shipped off to the Sacramento Kings. So me personally, I expect a W here going up against Chicago. But then the next game right after that, we're going to be going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We only have played the Cleveland Cavaliers 1 time so far, and we lost 110 to 104. Listen, Cleveland Cavaliers, man, they've been the surprise of the NBA. Currently, the number 1 seed with a record of 44-10. In their last 10, they're 8-2. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Boston Celtics, and the New York Knicks, they all share the same record within the last 10 games. They all share a record of 8-2. But the last time that we played the Cleveland Cavaliers, 110 to 104. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how we attack the game against Cleveland and the game against Boston. But this game against Cleveland, this game is going to be on February 21st. So another thing to keep in mind is the Mitchell Robinson update. As of the latest report, is looking like the Knicks are targeting around a March or mid-March return of Mitchell Robinson, so we're not going to be seeing him for the remainder of February, which is a little bit of a shame. I know they're being cautious. I know they're taking it slow with Mitchell Robinson, but I would like to see Mitchell Robinson play against the better teams in NBA, the top teams, the Clevelands, the Bostons, the OKCs, the Denvers. By the time Mitchell Robinson comes back, hopefully he gets enough reps going up against the better teams in the league. But after the Cleveland Cavaliers, then we're going to be going up against Boston. And then the first 2 games against Boston, we all know the history. We guys all know the drill. The Knicks lost the season opener 132 to 109. In that season opener, the one thing that I took away from that game is Deuce McBride. I think he was 8 of 10 from the field. He missed 2 shots. He missed, I think it was, or maybe he missed 3 shots. He missed 2 regular field goals, and I believe he missed 1 3-point shot. That was the biggest thing that I took away from the season opener. We lost the first one 109 to 132. And then more recently, when the Celtics came into the Garden, we lost 131 to 104, where literally the first play of the game was Jason Tatum having an in-and-out crossover against Cat at the top of the key, and then continuing to baptize Precious Achiuwa at the rim with a 2-handed dunk. So against the Boston Celtics, Boston, in my opinion, they're not. I don't know if they're not getting enough credit this year. They might be suffering from a little bit of a just champion syndrome, where they feel like they're going to be able to turn on the switch The season, it's an 82 game season. Like every game, especially for the reigning NBA defending champions, every game is not going to be a game 7 of the NBA Finals. They're not going to be able to rile themselves up. Some games and through some phases of the NBA season, it's going to feel like they're just coasting. And prior to the All-Star break, that was one of the talks about the Boston Celtics. They weren't playing up to their level, and now with 25 to 30 games remaining in the season after the All-Star game break, teams are definitely going to be looking to hit the ground running. And going up against Boston in our third game of the next 10 games, I think we're going to take an L here. I think Boston is just one of the better teams in the NBA right now, currently with a record of 39-16. And like I said earlier, the last 10, they have a record of 8-2. I think we're going to take an L here. Boston, when they're at full health, they got Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jalen Brown, just being able to cause a lot of chaos for Jalen Brunson and being able to cause a lot of switches for Cat. Cat isn't known as a great defender, especially if he gets hunted and he's looking to get switched on. And then Jalen Brunson is already at a disadvantage with his height and his stature. I'm always going to be taking Cap all day, every day. But the Boston Celtics, they have the right pieces in order just to annoy Jalen Brunson. And if we're looking at the first 2 games this season going up against Boston, that's exactly what Boston did. So going up against Boston in our third game, I'm gonna give the Knicks an L there. And then against the Cleveland Cavaliers, I also think it's gonna be an L there. Playoffs and regular season is different. In the playoffs, I'm taking the Knicks going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers 10 times out of 10. This playoff season, it might be a little bit interesting going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers if we do face them in the playoffs. But right now, in the regular season, the first 3 games, I got Chicago, the first game out of our All-Star game break. We got a W against Cleveland. I got an L. And going up against Boston, I got an L. Now, the next team after the Boston Celtics, we're going to be facing the Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers, we played them twice so far this season. And in both games, the first game we won 111-99, and then in the second game where it took us an overtime victory, 125-119. Listen, the Philadelphia 76ers are an absolute nightmare with the situation with Joel Embiid. My personal opinion, this is not a 76ers Digest channel, but in my personal opinion, I think they need to completely shut down Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid should not have played in the Olympics. I get it. He wanted a gold medal. He wanted to put that on his resume, and the best opportunity he was going to be able to get a gold medal was this summer, going with the Avengers of Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, the rest of the gang. But Joel Embiid was playing on one foot. Literally, he was playing on one foot. And even on that one foot, I should say leg, and even on that one leg, he was able to have a 50 burger ball against the Knicks in the playoffs. But the narrative around Joel Embiid is, unfortunately, if his career is going to keep going the way it is, it's going to be like, yeah, you're a great player, but you were never really able to have a consistent peak. You only had literally one season where you won the MVP, and even in that season, people were saying that the MVP could have been given to Luka, could have been given to Jokic. So there's just a lot of noise around the Philadelphia 76ers right now, and me personally, I would sit Joel Embiid down. But going up against the Philadelphia 76ers, I would take a W here. After the Philadelphia 76ers, we're going up against Memphis. We've only played Memphis once this season, and we won that game 143-106. The Memphis Grizzlies are interesting. Right now, I'm looking at the seedings in the Western Conference, and they're actually in the 2nd seed with a record of 36-18. In their last 10, they have a record of 7-3. Ja Morant, I believe, if I remember correctly, he had a little bit of an injury, and I'm not sure if it was a shoulder injury, but Jaren Jackson this year is looking like he stepped up immensely. It's looking like Jaren Jackson being able to get that all-star recognition this year. And I think earlier today, I saw on the internet that I guess just like different reporters, they're reporting to keep an eye on Ja Morant for this upcoming summer, because the Memphis Grizzlies, they're not really putting, it's looking like they're not putting all their effort in retaining Ja Morant. Now, I don't know if that's because of the whole situation that he had last year with the gun and stuff. I don't know what's going on. I'm not a Memphis Grizzlies fan. I'm a huge Ja Morant fan. That guy is one of the most ridiculous athletes I've ever seen in my lifetime. But going back to the whole Jaren Jackson point, I don't know. Jaren Jackson, with the way he's playing this year, I think it's given the Memphis Grizzlies organization like a different way to look at it. Maybe they're looking to build around Jaren Jackson instead of John Morant. But in the last game against the New York Knicks, where we got that W, Jaren Jackson had 21 points. He had 4 rebounds. He was 8 of 14 from the floor, 3 of 4 from three-point line, 33 minutes, converting both of his free throws. For the Knicks, Mikal Bridges. This was one of Mikal Bridges' bright spot for the entire season. He ended the game with 28 points, 12 of 19 from the floor, 2 of 6 from three-point line, converting both of his free throws, dishing out 6 assists, grabbing 5 rebounds in 34 minutes that he played. Listen, I hate to be not even the bearer of bad news, but depending on how Mitchell Robinson looks when he gets back, depending on how Mikal Bridges is going to be able to implement himself within the offense, I don't want to say that a lot of it is going to be on Mikal Bridges' shoulders, but we need Mikal Bridges to hit the ground running the second half of the season. We need Mikal Bridges just to start being more consistent. We can't have Mikal Bridges having these 20, 25-point games and then the following game have 8, 10, 12 points. I think Mikal Bridges' sweet spot, I think, is going to be anywhere between 15 to 25 points. If Mikal Bridges can consistently contribute 15 to 25 points as a role player on the team, I think the second half of the season we're really gonna make some noise. And for that game against the Memphis Grizzlies, I'm gonna take a W. The game after the Memphis Grizzlies, we're actually gonna be playing one of our Eastern Conference rivals. We're going up against the Miami Heat. We've only played Miami once so far, and in that game we won 116 to 107. As far as who had a really good game, I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns had a monster game. He had 44 points. He was 17 of 25 from the field, 4 of 5 from three-point line, converting all 6 of his free throws, grabbing 13 rebounds, dishing out 2 assists in the 39 minutes that he played. Of course, that 39 minutes, that's a really big number that sticks out to me. But Coach Tibbs, that's another narrative that's going around Coach Tibbs' name, and especially during this All-Star break. A lot of the talking NBA head shows, they were just talking about different teams and giving different teams grades. And whenever the Knicks came on the first take, the herd with Callan Cowherd, whenever the Knicks came up, the number one thing that a lot of people were talking about was just Coach Tibbs and the minutes that he's really putting on these guys. And that's Coach Tibbs' philosophy. He hasn't changed. I don't think he's going to change, and that's the way it's going to be. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. But the second time around going up against Miami, I'm still taking that W. This is going to be post Jimmy Butler. So now the Miami Heat, it's a Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo team. And Tyler Hero, salute to you for taking that, I mean, I guess you can say that next step in your career, taking that next leap, being a certified All-Star this year. But if you have a team that's being led by Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, I'm not too sure how high your ceiling is. After the Miami Heat, then we're going up against the Golden State Warriors. Unfortunately, we don't have any games against the Golden State Warriors this season so far, so I can't really point to anybody having a really good game, if it's Cat or Jalen Brunson. But after the Golden State Warriors, we got the Lakers, and the only time we played the Lakers so far, I think it was 2 Saturdays ago, and it was right before the Luka Doncic trade. They came into the Garden and they actually beat us 128 to 112. And I remember doing a post-game video, and I was just a little disappointed because it was the first primetime game on a Saturday night at 8 p.m. New York time on Channel 7. Then the Knicks, right after that, the following week on Saturday, it was against Boston. So this was the first primetime game on Saturday night on ABC for the Knicks. And we let a 40-year-old LeBron James, and Anthony Davis was not playing that game because he aggravated a abdominal muscle. That was his injury. So Anthony Davis was not playing. The team was led by LeBron James, and we completely laid an egg. I mean, LeBron had 33 points, 14 of 26 from the floor, 3 of 8 from three-point line, 2 of 4 from his free throws, grabbing 11 rebounds, dishing out 12 assists in 37 minutes. So LeBron James at age 40 had a triple-double against the Knicks. And I was a little disappointed as far as our Knicks for that game. I mean, our leader was Josh Hart with 26 points and 13 rebounds and 11 assists. Whenever Josh Hart has like a double-double, a 20 and 10 game, that usually leads to wins. But that game against the Lakers, he had a triple-double, and it didn't help us win. It was just a disappointing effort that I saw from the Knicks. I would have liked to see the Knicks come out with a little bit more just energy and just be a little bit more energized. But, I mean, when you have LeBron James on the team, like, you know, It's LeBron. So after the Lakers, then we're going to be going up against the Clippers, and we don't have any games going up against the Clippers this season. So there's no box score. There's no nothing that I can point to. The Clippers right now in the seedings, they are, I believe, fifth. No, they are sixth with a record of 31-23, and they're 6-4 in their last 10. And the whole wrinkle of Kawhi Leonard, like, I've never been a Kawhi Leonard fan. I don't trust him. I just don't think he's reliable. I think he's injury prone, and the Clippers, they've been sucked into this Kawhi Leonard vortex every single season. If Kawhi Leonard is healthy, if Kawhi Leonard can do this, if Kawhi Leonard can do that. Up until this point, Kawhi Leonard I think he played like 5 games prior to the All-Star game break. I think he played like 5 or 6 games. And up until that point, the Clippers were like hovering around that 5 or 6 seed. So without Kawhi Leonard, they were doing a pretty good job. But of course, if you add Kawhi Leonard, and if he's healthy, and if he's able to stay healthy, then that can take you from a 5th or a 6th seed all the way up to a championship contender, which he did with the Toronto Raptors. So Kawhi Leonard, just me personally, I'm 100% off him. I'm never going to be on him. And then finally, to wrap up our first 10 games coming out of the break, we're going up against the Sacramento Kings. Now, against Sacramento, we only have 1 game so far in the season, and we got that W against them, 1-0, and it was 143-120. In that game, our best, as far as box score wise, OG Anunoby had a pretty stellar game with 33 points, 12-18 from the floor, 4 of 7 from three-point line, converting 5 of his 6 free throws, grabbing 3 rebounds, dishing out 4 assists in the 35 minutes that he played. Right behind OG Anunoby, we had Jalen Brunson with 25 points, 9 of 17 from the floor, 4 of 6 from three-point line, converting all 3 of his free throws, 1 rebound and dishing out 11 assists. So Jalen Brunson had a nice little double-double in the 36 minutes that he played. Domantas Sabonis, 25 points, 12 assists, and 13 rebounds, a triple-double going up against Kent. Domantas Sabonis is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I don't know what he has to. I mean, honestly, he's going to have to change conferences. He's going to have to change conferences in order to get more All-Star recognition. He has to go back to the Indiana Pacers or just come back to the Eastern Conference, because the Western Conference is just stacked with players, not even just centers, just players in general. And that's pretty much why he's not getting the recognition that he deserves. All in all, the first 10 games post All-Star break, I have a record of 6-4. I would be happy with a record of 6-4. And I should also mention that the game against Denver, I think it was like 2 weeks prior to the All-Star break. The game against Denver, I did a video and I said that the next 7 games before the All-Star break, I'm going to be given my wins and losses record. And I did a record of 5-2. And guess what it turned out to be? It turned out to be a record of 5-2. Let me give myself a pat on the back. Let me give myself a couple more pats on the back, because I literally nailed it on the head. Now, this time around, 6-4, I'm not as confident. Because, one, it's more games. So instead of 7 games, I got 10 games. Let me give you the breakdown, because I feel like while I was doing this video, I gave you a W or a loss for some teams, and then for some teams I completely just dismissed it. So going all the way to the beginning of this video, Chicago, the first game out of the break, I got a W, and then the next 2 games against Cleveland and Boston, I have 2 L's. I'm just giving the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference a little bit of respect. I have 2 L's. So W against Chicago, a L against Cleveland, an L against Boston, and then Philly, the 4th game, I have a W. The Philadelphia 76ers are a nightmare. No more needs to be said. Going up against the Memphis Grizzlies, I have a W. Now, that can be an L, but I'm going to stick with what I wrote down. I'm going to put a W there. Going up against the Miami Heat, I put a W, but I could see us playing Miami and also catching that L. The post-Jimmy Butler trade, it seems like they're a little bit more inspired. So just having that noise around that team could do wonders for that team. We could take an L, but I'm going to put a W there for the Miami Heat. Going up against the Golden State Warriors, I'm going to take a W. It's going to be interesting to see the offense that Golden State runs with Jimmy Butler and the new acquisition of him. The Lakers, I put an L here for the Lakers, and this is going to be Luka. This is probably going to be Luka's like maybe 5th or 6th game. He already played 2 games. Both of those games against the Utah Jazz prior to the All-Star break. So, and they lost one of those games, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. But I just think if Luka is semi-healthy, I mean that, dude, just I still think people are not exactly computing what that team can actually look like. But I'm gonna give LeBron James and Luka some respect, and I'm gonna say we're gonna take an L there. Going up against the Clippers, it could be a W, but I put an L right here. I put an L right there for the Clippers, and then to finish it off, going to Sacramento, I put a W, so I finished with a record of 6-4. Sacramento is going to be interesting though, because this is going to be the first time that we're seeing the Sacramento Kings with Zach LaVine and the Sacramento Kings. They also did like a nice little low key move with a backup big of Jonas Valanciunas, backing up Domantas Sabonis. So that's going to be very interesting. Man, that trade deadline completely changed a lot of things, man. It really did. But before I wrap up today's video, I know it was a lengthy one, but I do want to talk about Bleacher Report showing some love to Brunson. Very interesting. The Bleacher Report, they actually did a ranking of every NBA player of a certain age. So Jalen Brunson being 28 years old, they actually ranked Jalen Brunson the best 28-year-old in the NBA. And if you take a look at the bottom of that picture, some of the players that he beat out: Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Domantas Sabonis, Mikal Bridges, his own teammate. Now, it's the couple names that stood out to me. One is Donovan Mitchell and Jaylen Brown. The one thing that Jalen Brunson has over Donovan Mitchell is, I'm going to keep saying this until the cows come home, like, Donovan Mitchell being your best player on the team, we've seen the ceiling of that. The Utah Jazz, they were able to get to the second round once, and I believe that was in his rookie year. And then the Cleveland Cavaliers, with Donovan Mitchell being the best player on the team, they got eliminated in the first round by the Knicks, and then they were able to get past Orlando Magic last season in the first round, going to a Game 7 against a rookie Orlando Magic team, basically. Now, this season might be a little bit different because Donovan Mitchell, it seems like he's just changed the way he plays. We're going to have to wait and see if he's going to be able to implement that in the playoffs, because in the regular season, I've been very impressed with how he's just taken a step back and let Darius Garland kind of like take the wheel of the car. He's let Evan Mobley flourish. He's let Jarrett Allen flourish. But again, the playoffs are a little bit different. So Jalen Brunson being the best 28-year-old over Donovan Mitchell, I'm not really surprised. But Jaylen Brown is a little bit interesting because Jaylen Brown, he has an NBA Finals chip. He has an NBA Finals MVP. He has an NBA Eastern Conference MVP. And that's a whole conversation. Who's the best player in the Boston Celtics? Even though personally, I think it's Jason Tatum, and no question. But Jason Tatum, he's in the conversation of like, yo, you are the best player on the Boston Celtics, but until you get that Finals MVP, the conversation around your name is just going to be a little murky. Because Jaylen Brown, he has the hardware. Whoever wants to have the conversation of Jaylen Brown being the best player in the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown has the hardware to make it an argument. Jason Tatum doesn't have a Eastern Conference MVP. He doesn't have a Finals MVP. Jalen Brunson being ranked as a better 28-year-old over Jaylen Brown, I found that a little bit interesting. But of course, man, it's Cap. And do I need to say what he's done with the Knicks organization, turning this whole franchise around? The first season he came here, bringing us to the second round, losing to the Miami Heat. The second year, going to the second round, losing in 7 to the Indiana Pacers. But the only reason why we lost to the Pacers is because we were all zombies, completely injured. Mitchell Robinson, Jalen Brunson, who else was hurt? Josh Hart was dealing with injuries. Like, it was a mess. So I just wanted to show some love to Bleacher Report. You finally got some things right. Thank you for showing love to our Cap. But guys, thanks so much for checking out this video. Again, I know it was a bit lengthy, but thank you so much for checking it out. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about my record for the first 10 games out of the All-Star break. I got a record of 6-4, and leave it in the comments and let me know what you guys think about Bleacher Report, showing some love to our boy Jalen Brunson. But of course, it's Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. The deuce is loose for co-MVP. OG Anunoby for Defensive Player of the Year. Have a speedy recovery, my guy. Taj Gibson for president. And do I need to say it? It's Queens forever. New York forever. New York or nowhere. You heard? I'm out. Peace.